Welcome again, YouTube. This is Max One Chase One. As you remember from my last video, I was trying to find out where that leak was coming from, and I was trying to decide whether to get into taking all of the intake carburetor section off, but you can kind of see here I've already taken it off. To be fair, I'm gonna wind up and explain to you some of the stuff I took off, and it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was really a piece of cake. But you can kind of see I do have a bit of a mess here. And when you have a mess here with a motorcycle and you're the only one that's dealing with it, let it stay that way. No extra hands, no extra help, nothing. Because you know where stuff is going to go, and I'm going to try to explain to you what stuff I took off to get to this point here. Okay, YouTube, first thing I did, like I said, I took the seat off. Well, you probably saw the seat that was already off. And the next thing I do was going to take the tank off. And the tank only had 4 bolts that holds the tank in there. There's one here, here, there, and here. And I'll show you on the tank where they are located. And the same thing, this is 1 in the rear, 2 in the rear, 1's on this side, and the others on this side. You've got 1 connection that's right on the side, that's right here. It's on the left side of the bike facing forward. And then you got 3 plugs here, 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to show you what these 3 plugs are. And those 3 plugs I'm talking about are 1, 2, and 3. And that 1 plug that's on the side of the tank, that's where it plugs into right here. So when you unplug it, the plug is going to go in between the bike here and come out with the tank. But before you take the tank out, if it's got gas in it, it's going to feel like that thing is weighing a ton. It's in there nice and tight. Through this little rubber pad here is pushed up right up against the frame. It's almost like it's molded into the bike. So actually go up here and drain the tank of all the gas you can with a siphon hose. And then also to make sure you take the gas line loose here. Now before you start taking the tank out after you drain the gas, you want to take the air cleaner, where you take the top off and take the filter out. Those, I think, was 8 screws all the way around, and you got a screw there and a screw here. Then you take the bottom base out, and along with that bottom base, you're gonna take the fuel pump section out with these 2 screws. Those 2 screws I was pointing to earlier, that's in the front of the air cleaner. And when you take that off, go ahead and take this. It's a vacuum line or something for the fuel pump. Take that line loose. This is the line right there by the fuel pump. This one is the one right there on the side of the tank. This one is going alongside the tank. It's like a little vacuum line or whatever. And then also too, this is the linkage or the cables that pull the throttle open and pull the throttle closed. Take off these 2 bolts here, and you can take the whole assembly out instead of taking it out of adjustment. So I can put this back with no adjustment done to the linkage on the throttle. And then after you've done all that, now you can just lift the tank out. These two little handles here work well with trying to get the tank to lift from the front, and then work the rest of it up from the back and take it out in this fashion and come straight on up and out with it. And this is what you'll see once you take the tank out. I'm gonna give a little FYI here. Your I forgot what that bar called. This is a time well to, I saw on one YouTube where a guy took a piece of rubber or something, like an old tire or a piece of rough material, mud flat material, and attach it to here and run it down alongside of here, so this cross member here doesn't get rusted. I've seen a whole lot of pictures with some of them, they really eat them up. And so if you want to protect yours, I'm gonna clean this up, and then also too, I'm gonna put some what's the stuff they put in the back of pickup trucks to kind of help keep it from rusting. And that's what I'm gonna do there. Now comes the crazy part. This is the carbs here. I've got them covered. Make sure you cover yours so nothing gets in the carburetor. And this is the tube intake that sits on top of the carbs. Reason why I got this upside down now is because I want you to kind of remember. You see that hole there? There's a screw there, and there's another hole there, and it's one here where another screw or something goes. I didn't have to take this off, but it's a good thing I did. You can kind of see that this one here is a little bit deteriorated. It looked like when someone took it off once before, they didn't line it up well. But you can kind of see that this one is good intact. Same thing with this one and this one. You see you got dowels here. Make sure you keep all your dowels in there, because when you get ready to place it back in, all of those dowels is going to have to match up. As you can kind of see, when you pick it up off the ground, they fit flush with the top of the intake. And you kind of see how they are moving around. So what I'm going to do to keep them, make sure they stay in place, I'm going to use some former gasket, just a little bit, just to kind of keep them in place. Now what this did, it fit right on top of there. Just like that. Now, to kind of give you an idea that anybody can do this, I had no idea about how to do this. But if you take a look at it, one thing leads to another, and something's always attached to another. Yes, I was a little skeptical about doing it, but I said, you know, it's my bike. I can read, I can see, got common sense, I can do it. So I did wind up and did it, and I took it off. And here we are. So what I'm going to do is that I will put this back onto the carbs, so I can wind up and leave that back in the tank, because when you take the carburetors off, all of this come off in one piece. Now let's go back a little bit, and I'm going to give you one thing that's going to be a beast, and I want you to kind of take a look at it before you decide to get into this area here. To take this off, all of this, you have got to loosen these carburetor screws. These are the boots that hold the carburetors in place. There's one on each boot. There's one here, there's one there, there's one here, and the other one is there. Alright, now what you got to do is, now what this person did, who had the bike before I did, they painted them, the tops of the screws, they painted them with a little bit of a white paint, which made them easy to identify. Because just imagine, to get to those, you got to go through here. See that white screw right there? That's what I had to go through. Right here on the side of the motor to try to get to it. That one, I had to use a flexible screwdriver to go over the top, go down in, and get to that screw. Now the reason why this one was difficult, because it was way over on the other side. I had to flip this one over because it was on this side. So what I did, I flipped it over, and I'm gonna put it on this side, so if I ever had to do it again, as you can kind of see, I can get to it right there. See it right here? And that's right over the top of the valve cover and get to it. So I'm going to adjust all of these again so they can be easy access for me to get to them. Alright? And you get those loose, and then you get to wind up and take two of them at a time and take a screwdriver and pry on this inner cup here. You pry a little bit on one side, you pry a little bit on the other side, and you get that whole side to lift up. Then you go to the other side and do the exact same thing, against the frame and stick a screwdriver or something in here, pry it in here and pry it here until they come out of the boots. And once they come out of the boots, then you can kind of lift it away from the boots. Now here is one hose that's right in the front. This hose here is in the front. You've got to just slip that off. Alright, so pull that off. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, this came with the air cleaner, so you can just push that off. Alright, and then after that, this one right here went to the fuel pump. You'll see it once you get this kind of free. You kind of see that'd be the only thing that you got to worry about. Other than that, everything here came together as one. Now these were on the air cleaner. I'm just gonna leave them in place because I'm not gonna be trying to find out where all these hoses go. Again, I like to do stuff that makes it easier for the mechanic to work on it. And believe me, if I'm doing it, I recommend you do the same thing, because I'm gonna make this as easy as pie. Oops, I forgot. Here's a late entry, nothing big. This is your choke cable. It's right along the side. You see where it'll fit on the side of the carburetor assembly over there. Quick, easy. Just push it forward, slip it out, and believe me, you'll never forget where this goes, because it's almost like it's going right back where it's supposed to go. Alright, so I'm just going to stick this so it'll be out of the way. Now let's take a look at the hoses that runs radiator coolant that does a return back to the thermostat. We got this one hose that's right here. You got the second hose, which is right here. You've got this small line that's right there, and that goes down like a bypass, and this will run all the way back up to the thermostat. Now I've looked at this hose. It feels pretty new, so I don't think it's leaking here. I looked at that hose. It feels new, and I said the same thing. It looked like it was not long replaced, even though it's got white paint on the top, but I'm not gonna go by that. But this is the thing that gives me the telltale sign. I looked at this hose here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I looked at this hose here. You see how it's wet right here? Either it's coming from here, or is it coming from this fit here? And you kind of look like I see some former gasket on there. So I'm going to take this loose and see why this is getting wet. So I believe it's this right here that's leaking. I don't think none of the holes are leaking. But if this is not the problem, I'm still going to take a look at the hose when I give it to take it off, when I take this apparatus off. To see if this hose is split up on the bottom. And if it's not, I'm going to drive on with it. And if I have to go back and do it again to replace that hose, hell, I know how to do it now. Alright, but that's where I'm at right now. I'm going to take this screw loose and this screw loose and separate this device here. Alright. But also while we're here, let's take a look. As you kind of see, one guy who did a video, a renovation of a ST1100, he answered me back and he said that I'm going to find some moisture down in the bottom. But mine wasn't leaking that bad where it was like a busted hose or anything. It was just seeping out. So that's why I'm thinking it's this device here. But it is kind of wet down in there. And then I'm going to check all of these hoses to make sure that none of them are split. Now with this right here, I don't know what this hose is, but it seems like it's not leaking, it's not wet. But I'm getting a lot of moisture because it fit right up into that area here. See that moisture that's right there? I'm sure that you guys agree that if you got moisture here and moisture there around that hose, it's got to be leaking from here. So this is that investigative stuff that I like to see and do, instead of going and changing stuff I don't need to. Alright. And then you got another hose here that goes down and around. As you look on that guy's video that's on YouTube, I can't picture the guy's name right now, but this is a 98, and the stuff that's on that video he did must have been a 93. None of this look like his except for this hose, and even the bypass hose is a little different. All right, but it do give you kind of insight on what you're gonna have to do and what it's gonna be to get to it. So this is where I'm at, YouTube. I believe I'm on the mid-stroke, almost at the top. And once I get to the top is when I take this off and I go ahead and seal that back up and check these hoses. I'm gonna be on the down slide back to put it back together. All right, I'm gonna call this video getting to the coolant engine hoses on a Honda ST1100 1998. All right, YouTube, stick with me. Again, I hope this helps somebody who's got an ST1100, or if you know somebody that has one and you can give them a little advice. Believe me, this not too bad to do. It's just the fact that you just got to not have no interruptions and no hands in doing it, because like I said, you get to know where you put your screws, you know where they are. Also to YouTubers, the only sockets I needed while doing this operation here is going to be a 10 millimeter and an 8 millimeter, and those are the only two sockets that you're going to need. A 10 millimeter and an 8. Also to YouTube, like I said once before, you get you some Planters bean cans or some whatever bean can, well, not bean can, peanut cans, I'm sorry, and put your screws in there and make sure you label them just like I did. So I guarantee you, when it comes time for you to put stuff back together, you say, give me the throttle screws. You know exactly what is in there, how many. There's one large and one small. Intake bolts, how many is it? It's 4 of them. And believe me, this is a big deal to help you find the right screws and how many you're supposed to have. And then on top of that, you can't beat a darn Sharpie, because a Sharpie writes on everything. Alright, back to it. Okay, YouTube, I believe that this is my problem. After I took this off, again, it's a long screw and a short screw. Now you see this screw here, this helps hold this hose into place. So that goes on the in between that and here. So this part right there, it's kind of like acting like a washer on the outside. But as I look at this piece here, it's so thin and it looked like it's nothing on it at all. And I believe that's where I was losing fluid, right here where my finger is, right at the bottom, because it doesn't look like it doesn't have any type of thickness or anything to it. So I'm gonna clean that up real quick. I looked at the hose, I don't see nothing on it. Well, I looked at it better than I'm looking at it here, and I don't see nothing there. It looked like the hose might have been split or bust, or it was leaking away from around the oh fuck, did you see that shit? This right here just fucking cracked. I believe that was the damn problem. Alright, that looked like that's another damn piece I'm gonna get on eBay and look and find. Alright, so there we go. I believe that's what it is. Well, even though it's broke, gotta have it. Shit. Again, I'll be back.